Hey, what is up guys, Marcy here back to do another video, and today I've got a pretty awesome game on Tournament Decision, and we're going to be playing as the ZOCOM, and Panic will be playing as the Mark of Kane. Now this to me is a special game for me. Maybe it will be received poorly or positively, but for me this was a really good game, and I even submitted it to a caster for the future, but I don't expect it to get casted for like half a year. So, classic map, and Panic is one of those old school players, so he's more into the micro, and the game wasn't fully figured out when he played, so it all came down to how well you micromanaged your units. There was more low eco strategies back then compared to today. So this is pretty nice. It looks like there's a starfish on this map as well. Interesting map layout. This map layout is, even though it's highly unique and it was the only 1v1 tournament map to ship with the expansion pack, it is very good and well designed. So it's not about quantity, it's about quality, and they definitely did deliver with this map here. A lot of the 1v1 maps like Top Gun were just terrible in my opinion. I mean, maybe they had their fans, but the bloom lighting is terrible, and starting off with blue Tiberium fields is never a good thing for any 1v1 map in my opinion, unless you have the intent of making a casual map, which not all maps have to be tournament maps. Speaking of tournament, I am casting this after the grand final of the tournament, so if you don't want to hear the result of the tournament, then I would skip by about 15 seconds. But yeah, I did lose that tournament. Unfortunately, I did get destroyed, but in the future, I think that we should have them hosted without casters. Maybe a battle cast feature will be implemented in the new server, which will mean that casters can cast the replay in real time as the game's being played elsewhere. I think that's possible. Features like that are great because there's a lot of ping latency between Australia and Europe. The VPN that CGF uses is a bit, well, a bit unreliable. It's a shame we can't have tournaments on the C&C Online server. But that's neither here nor there. I did have fun with the tournament, and I am very happy to have walked away with a pretty nice prize. I'm going to be playing as the lime yellow green on this map. It's a pretty interesting color. I have been modifying my colors. Panic's going to be playing as the dark green on this map. It always reminds me of the... oh man, what's the... I'm trying to think of some Warhammer 40k similarity here. Is it Dark Angels? Yeah, it reminds me of that, because if I recall correctly, they were very dark green. They were like Space Marines as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware. Man, it's been so long, but the color's very similar to it. I used to be a big Warhammer fan, used to enjoy painting figurines and models. I have not been doing that though in many years, but it used to be a hobby. Nonetheless, different colors. It's going to be fun. So flame tank's coming out for Panic. He's going for that flame rush, and there's not been a whole lot happening. I'm going for a bunch of pitbulls and a predator tank. Flame tank in the top, which I will spot. That garrison paying off. These little early moves in the beginning of the game really paying dividends now. Flame tank will be spotted in the bottom right corner. Flame tank will be spotted in the top. Now, did I say he was marked to Kane? What I actually meant was he was Nod. So, I don't know what you're smoking, Leaf, but this doesn't look like Mark Kane to me. There's a flame tank on the map. Scorpion tanks being marched in, but Panic is dealing with multiple things at once. I'm going to go ahead and grab this defensive task. He can't retreat with his tanks, but he does get away with more of the tanks. Venom's coming in as well. And I hope that I'm casting the right game. How embarrassing would it be if I'm not? Yes, I am casting the right one. I'm trying to recall what happened, because of course I did play that tournament, so my memory is a bit jarred. Bloodhound's coming down in the bottom right. Now I am playing as the ZOCOM. So I need to be extra aggressive with tier 1, tier 2 because I don't have juggernauts, and I don't want to contest the bottom base without artillery because that's simply not possible. I mean, it can be done with an advantage, with ZOCOM walkers, with aircraft, but I need an advantage first and foremost. Engineer gets sniped. I try to take over that tier 3, and I'm coming in hot with this expansion, and panic will hold on. Also, a surveyor has been produced, so I can expand not only to the bottom, but I have an insurance policy in the top of the map. And by the way, in order to get these towers to fire at maximum range, you have to manually force fire with them, which is a little unfortunate, but there is an added micro element to them. Now, I'm happy to announce there will be that 10 things you didn't know about Kane draft video coming out. I have been writing the things down in the notepad, and I know I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I truly am going to now. I'm not going to put a tremendous amount of effort into it because I do have things happening in real life, but I will bring out this video and I'm going to show you all 10 things that you didn't know about this game. So stay tuned to my YouTube channel for that because that's going to be coming out real soon. As I mentioned, not a lot of editing will happen. That's mostly the thing that bogs me down, the editing. I'm just going to keep it sweet and simple. 2 stealth tanks get intercepted. Those pit bulls doing a huge amount for me. I'm trying to spread these refineries out, but I don't think I got the sufficient spread to avoid both refs dying. Nonetheless, I've got a pretty decent economy. I have the bottom of the map secured and the top of the map. Going for that expansion once again. I can expand to his third with my MCV, but it's difficult to push in to a knob player with your MCV because Sonic Munitions lose to obelisks. Plus he has beam cannons and Spectre artillery. Once that Redeemer comes out, I'm going to be in some trouble as well, but he doesn't have a Redeemer facility on the front line. ZOCOM walkers moving in, and instead of going back to base for those repairs, I instead decided to build a combat support airfield and put it right on the front line, just to reduce the time it takes to do a full cycle so I can rearm, refuel, repair, and get a bunch of those orcas healed up. This airfield has twice the health that it used to have, so it can be pretty resistant to damage now. It's a viable thing to build, and in a base trade situation, spamming those combat support airfields is probably a great idea. No one has yet realized that. SAM turret being dropped. Now, without quad turrets, those are weaker in R19, so if I escape here with 1 aircraft intact, it's because of that change. I did just lose an orca, so most of the time, the 33, it's not really 33% less damage, but it's a damage reduction nonetheless, doesn't really matter. Flame tank has made its way into my base, so all the while this push is happening, flame tank has been ripping apart my base. But I do clean up the flame tank, and I've got more bloodhounds coming in. I'm recycling this support pack just because I like it a lot. It gives you units that are always going to have utility and versus not. APCs to kill the infantry, pitbulls to detect stealth tanks, to kill harvesters. Plus they have that rank on them, so they're better than building them from the barracks. It's hard to achieve veterancy with a pitbull, so that has a good chance of going heroic as well if you can rank it to elite. It only has to kill $2,100 of units to rank up, because it is 300% the units cost to gain a veterancy rank in this game. Every unit also rewards plus 30% its value for each rank. So if it's a veteran pitbull, it will give $700 for experience when killed to the enemy, plus 1.3 that amount. Heroic units give twice the cost of the units worth of experience to the enemy. It's important for me to know these stats because I, of course, did have to change the veterancy on the ZOCOM Orca as it was bugged. They ranked up like a regular Orca despite costing $1,500. I have since fixed the veterancy in R19 with the ZOCOM Orcas, but reduced the cost to $1,300. You don't nearly see as many heroic ZOCOM Orcas anymore, but they are cheaper and more inexpensive to build. Anyway, this Redeemer's coming into my base. And these ZOCOM need to do a lot of work here. This Redeemer has still half of its health remaining. And I'm trying to focus down the Scorpion tanks. The stealth tanks are still there. He's got 2. I focused down 1 immediately. The sensor pod on that mountain actually detecting the stealth tanks for me to already acquire those stealth tanks. The range is substantial on those sensor pods. And Panic's just going to focus down that combat support airfield, but because it has the same health as an airfield, that will survive. If that was another patch, then both of my ZOCOM walkers would have died. The Pred tanks are getting destroyed by the Scorpion tanks. This is a pretty intense fight here. The Redeemer does just about fall, and those Scorpion tanks will follow suit. Panic getting down another refinery on his expansion. And this is just insane. Look at all the tank debris and destruction in the bottom there. Now what I can do is leave these 2 ZOCOM augers above the war factory and manually use the repair tool to repair them. Though I believe that was added in the community patch. I haven't done that myself, so it would have been CGF. I did inherit the 1.02 plus from CGF, so what I did was basically stacked on top. And I am using the 4K mod as well, so if this game looks nicer or any different, then it's because of the 4K mod. Though I did change the colors in this, again, like I mentioned prior, that it was changed to that lime green and dark green color. Scorpion tanks being microed by Panic, but I have... actually, it's a pretty good shot of winning with laser scores because they do have 2 upgrades. I don't have any railguns for my tanks. I can go for mammoth tanks if I take up to tier 3. I've got an expansion at the top of the map. Another Redeemer pops out. But I know now's the chance for me to move in because this Redeemer facility is far away from the front line. So now's the golden chance for me to push him out of this expansion field. So I'm going to go ahead and start targeting down these units. There's a stealth tank there. I do spot it and destroy it immediately with the ZOCOM walkers. I had enough ammunition in the clip. And unfortunately for me, as good as this looks, he does use the mine drop, and I moved a centimeter and all those tanks just exploded. So what would have been a game-ending move for me is now pretty bad because I just lost all my forces. There's an avatar out. I have no standing army, so it's going to force me to start building these mammoth tanks. Pitbull in the top of the map will spot his harvesters long leech mining my tib field. And I'm building mammoths because Preds are just not going to quite cut it for me against these fully upgraded Scorpion tanks with lasers and dozer blades.
Harvester under attack.
Scorpion tanks, Pred tanks moving in to his base, so this has been pretty non-stop game. Been a lot of action in this one, but I've got 8 Pred tanks moving into his base, just rolling in. I'm going to put them on aggressive stance so they're going to fire at those structures without me needing to give the orders. And this tech center is going to be destroyed. This refinery is going to be destroyed. He's going to lose ground control there, so he's going to have to place an obelisk now, or holding that off will be challenging. That mammoth tank, if I had built it, would have just got crushed immediately by the Redeemer. Pred tanks in the top doing so much damage. The stealth tank also gets absolutely destroyed in the top by a mammoth. Don't even remember building that mammoth tank, but it did its job. It killed a stealth tank. And the base at the top gets absolutely destroyed. So Panic now is just left in that space. And he's not marked with Kane, so he's not going to have unlimited EMPs that he can use. He's only got a Redeemer and an Avatar. But I've got my Marv out again. I've also retained my tier 3 so I can produce Zone Raiders. Now this is a little bit of a mistake by me perhaps, but I do have reasoning for it. I am building an engineer, and I'm putting the engineer into the MCV because I didn't want to lose my build queue. Pred tank's moving into his base, but Panic has a larger army than anticipated. MCV gets that full repair, so I don't think the shockwave was a big mistake because I did just use that to heal the MCV back up to full. Mammoth tank in the top. I needed to deal with these Scorpion tanks. Pretty good response to Scorpion tanks, the unupgraded Mammoth tanks, I think. If you've got enough Mammoth tanks, then they can deal significant damage to a force of Scorpion tanks like this, especially wounded tanks. The faster fire rate of this Mammoth tank will actually be better than if it had railguns, because I'll be able to one-shot those tanks and kill them quickly. But the Mav tank is moving in. And this Marv as well. I'm just going to use it to Marvis this Tiberium Field Zone Raiders. Jump jetting across that mountain. Looks pretty sick. Now I do have 2 Tiberium spikes to my name. And I need to consider taking my opponent's Tiberium spike because he has one there. But things are also running dry for me. I don't have any more Tiberium to harvest. So despite the great situation I was in, I maybe bled too much. Panic took some excellent trades. He forced out the use of the Shockwave. Shockwave halfway done. I'm going to sell my tier 3. I don't need to keep my tier 3 to build a Marv. That will be changed in R20, but for the longest time, you don't need a tier 3 with the GDI to build an epic unit. Redeemer did use its rage, and those Scorps did get healed up, so the Mammoth tank will ultimately be overwhelmed. Just one Mammoth tank will be overwhelmed by that many Scorpion tanks. He's going to bring those back to base for repair. And now I've got this Marv out, and I'm going for Hammerheads. So I'm building Hammerheads now. The Redeemer is moving through. I'm going to put these units inside of the garrison and try and burn down these bikes, but I didn't see that he had Flamethrower in his Redeemer. So I've got the Hammerheads because that's really the thing I can build right now. It's Hammerheads. I've got a Mammoth tank back there as well, which I should move in to confront this Redeemer, but I'm a bit scared of the Rage gen. I want him to use the Rage before moving in with my Mammoth, but it's a pretty good unit to support my army. Mammoths can kill avatars in a 1v1 fight as long as the avatar isn't upgraded with a secondary laser. Rage gen was used, so the Mammoth tank can go in now without fear. There's a ton of Scorpion tanks as well for Panic. He's built a ton of those Scorps. A lot of them are ranked up too. Bikes as well, just to deal with the Hammerheads. Hammerheads loaded up with Zone Raiders, loaded up with rockets. And this Redeemer is taking significant damage. He may even get the MCV. He's focusing down the MCV. A lot of those spikes being destroyed in this narrow choke point. Panic, of course, has to move out because he is pretty starved. I have 3 tip fields. 4 tip fields if you count that one there if I secure it. Whereas he's just down to the 1. So he knows he has to move out and attack me or all is lost. He didn't get EMP for his buggies because I did destroy his tier 3. But he has both of his other upgrades. He has the tip core and the laser capacitors. And look at these Zone Raiders go. That sick railgun Zone Raider projectile just raining down on those tanks. And Panic has a heroic Scorpion tank. That bike as well, doing so much damage. Yeah, just 2 volleys from bikes will be enough to kill a ZOCOM Hammerhead with ceramic armor. And because I kept my Reclamator hub, I'm going to be able to rebuild my Marv. Unfortunately though, I don't have a barracks, so even if I build my Marv again, I'm not going to be able to put infantry inside of it. What I should have done was captured the EMP spike. Too late now, I mean this is just in hindsight, but really should have gone for that EMP at this point. Now I have no way of making engineers unless I queue one from my war factory. I don't need a war factory in the top. I got a Mammoth tank and a Reclamator hub. The Redeemer needs to be destroyed somehow. But this Marv is... In fact, yeah, the Redeemer was destroyed. What am I talking about? Unless I'm seeing things. But yeah, these bikes have found my harvesters, and because these Zone Raiders don't hit fast-moving targets such as bikes effectively, I'm not going to be able to kite as I would with the other units, like the Zone Trooper railguns. Those are really great for kiting bikes. And because my Hammerheads are really fast, I can just circumvent this terrain. I can get on top of these Scorpion tanks and kill them. So I'm going to focus fire the ground just so the Zone Raider does maximum damage and kills that heroic tank, but he does just about escape there with the heroic Scorpion. So things have definitely come down to the wire. My Marv is moving out. I've got a grenade and a rifle. That's basically better than nothing. I may as well put all of that stuff in the Marv. It's better having 4 rifles in the Marv than not having any garrisons whatsoever. But a grenade is the best thing I can put in there as far as DPS is concerned. Mammoth tank up there as well. I need to support this with my Hammerheads. He's going to be forced to pull back with that Scorpion. And the Mammoth tank can provide excellent support for my Hammerheads. against these bikes. That Mav tank is great in a situation like this, where I need to take out bikes. And I'm trying to kill this MCV, as an unfenced MCV, but it may not be enough. Panic puts down a Panic SAM battery. He's going to be able to destroy one of my zone heads, which was very painful. Each one of those going down is a huge loss for me, but my Marv is approaching his base from the south. I've got a Marv down here. These zone raiders I can also evac from the hammerheads and put in my Marv. But it doesn't have very much damage as far as killing this base is concerned. For some unexplicable reason I decided not to put the rifle in the Marv. I mean, I don't think it would have made a difference, because look how little damage the rifle turret does. It's very small. That heroic Scorpion tank is the one thing that's stopping me from getting into this base and destroying this war factory. Panic has 3 buildings left if you don't count his MCV in the top. And that heroic tank just tanks so much damage. My Marv's still above half health. My MCV needs to move in there so I can start placing down a barracks to get engineers into my Marv for healing it up. I can't build a war factory fast enough, but I can get a barracks down for engineers. If I put 2 engineers in that Marv, then there is a good chance for me. Marv doing a lot of damage considering it has no zone raiders inside of it. Yes, it does have 1 zone raider garrison, but it's very difficult. It's doing all the splash damage it possibly can. The Scorpion tank is still there. I need to destroy that, which I just about do, and the Marv will go down, unfortunately. I really should have silo blocked that Marv, but that was super clutch, man. Look how low on health those avatars are. If I only had put the silo or barracks in front of the Marv, then I would have been able to save it. Avatars would have walked forward, and then I would have had the opportunity to capture those avatar husks. So very, very clutch, very, very close. I've still got this zone raider. If I keep that alive, then I can build an armory and get the full squad back again. I may be forced to sell my MCV, because if I'm planning just to build hammerheads, then I don't need an MCV, but that means I will really be all in at that point. A barracks wouldn't be a bad call before I decide to sell my econ yard off. But yeah, I'm looking to build an armory too. I've been letting my Tiberium fields regrow because I had no Tiberium, and the best thing you can do is just let them grow back, and that's what I did. I've got 2 fields of Tiberium that I'm harvesting from now, so the game is not over. Would have been nice if I had not sold my Reclamator hub off, but there were so many opportunities where I could have had this game by now, but it still is going to continue. That Raider buggy there, enough to scare back this one hammerhead. I'm using the repair tool on my hammerhead, on my MCV. Probably will be better off just selling that off, but I need to buy a little bit more time while I get more hammerheads out. That's why I'm keeping it around. There's 3 tanks there and a raider buggy, so he doesn't have very much. He has a war factory though, so he can build bikes. He's probably building them now because of these hammerheads. 1 good splash damage attack with these zone heads though, and I can kill all the remaining bikes that he has. He doesn't have any Tiberium on his expansion tip field. I have the Tiberium spike in the top, so I've got a spike advantage over him. I've also got a Tiberium field advantage. There's several harvesters there full of Tiberium. I've got 4 hammerheads. 5 or 6 hammerheads is a pretty good number to go out and do pretty good damage with. So the Scorpion tanks are going to focus down my MCV. I want to try and keep this alive, just so I can put down watchtowers and things like that, because watchtowers are amazing against bikes. Even those guardian cannons without railguns can be decent, but I made another mistake here, which was to put down a war factory. I was overconfident in these hammerheads, because usually players don't have any micro when they're confronting aircraft, but Panic, he kept maneuvering his bikes around, so my zone heads couldn't get off that splash damage. And these zone heads are just unable to accomplish very much. There's no combat support airfield like I had in the earlier stages of this game to repair these hammerheads, but yeah, this is going to be a big fight here. The hammerheads are garrisoned up. I'm focusing down these bikes while trying to. It's very messy. I kill all but one of the bikes. My zone head will go down, which is unfortunate. Again, that would have been great to have alive. But I do cut down his bike buggy numbers to nothing. And the MCV will just about make it out alive. Or not. The MCV does go down. And the hammerhead with it. And that probably has set me back way too much. This avatar, this bike, panic, just about holding on there. But I have resources still, so I'm not going to give this game up. Considering how insane this game has been, I'm still going to fight it out. ZOCOM can still bring this one back, but I did lose those hammerheads unnecessarily. But I was expecting to get a better engagement against him, and I was fearful that he had a refinery set up on his expansion field up here. He has no such refinery. He also doesn't have the tip spike. He hasn't bothered to reclaim that tip spike from me, so I'm still operating on that 3 spike income. So despite all this, I'm still in a decent position. But yeah, I see the bikes. He's found me out in the top. He's going to kill my harvesters. Those 4 bikes are just sniping all what's left of my income. These hammerheads too will probably go down. Tip core is just so powerful, especially against ZOCOM. And really the only thing I can do now is go for an infantry push with the Bloodhounds, and sorry, not Bloodhounds, the airborne support power. Composite armor is completed for me, so this is somewhat a last-ditch attempt. But he's got an MCV. If he didn't have an MCV, then maybe that would have worked because he couldn't have placed down shredder turrets. But he does have the ability to just place shredder turrets down, so that will ultimately mean that I'm going to go down in this game. So after a crazy non-stop back and forth game, I will finally lose. And that was a difficult loss to take in, but nonetheless I found it to be an extremely great game to play. I had a lot of fun playing it. Panic as well also agreed and said it was a great game. Very aggressive. I had an eco advantage, I sure did, but Panic held on. He microed great, especially in the latter stages of the game, and he milked those units, especially the Scorpion tank, which carried him through till the end. That Marv got the final shot on it. Marv, if it had lived, would have saved me, but yeah, that will be it. So I hope you all enjoyed that game, and if you did, then don't forget to smash the like button. I would really appreciate it. And also, I would like to thank everyone who is supporting me on my Patreon. Thank you very much, guys, for the continued support. These videos would not be possible without that support that I'm getting. So yeah, guys, this is going to be me, Master Leaf. Peace out.